Selamat welcome, and today we're bringing another episode of Early Meta Battles. And Rosetta just released this past weekend, so we still have no idea which decks are gonna come out on top. Although we do have our predictions, check out my tier list prediction video for my thoughts on the meta. But today we're fighting Verdance, an Earth Wizard with the ability to send huge earth attacks and small arcane pings and a smattering of arcane spells. She can pair up with storm striders and amping while gaining life. Let's see whether Aurora's pressure is enough to keep her off of comboing or just outvaluing us in general using her good earth cards and annoying arcane pings that we don't really want to spend a card to AB out. And without further ado, let's jump right into the gameplay. Against Verdance, we want to be second to mount offensive pressure. We want the equipments to be as is, and we want to load in our combo package. Board out the Electrifies and the Rabbles. Okay, the reason we want to board in the combo package is because we want to be able to do one massive big turn because Verdance has two builds. One is OTK. You will know this when they're using the Earth Helmet from Arya, Surgeon Aethertide, and Storm Striders. And the other build is so they're going to try to block you out, decompose a bit, and when they have their ability online, and they don't really need their ability online to do the OTK, it's mostly using the meld card, the Rampant Growth, where you gain life and then you amp X based on the life gain, set up a bunch of potions, so during your pop-off turn, you amp a ton, and then you Aethertide, and then you do a spell. So you amp probably like 13, 14. Ooh, this is not a very good hand. Okay. Probably gonna end up arsenaling the burn up. Oh yeah, so they're gonna amp for a ton, Surgeon Aethertide for that ton of damage, and then it will carry over like when you're using an Aether Flare on Kano. So if you're able to like amp 13, you're coming in for 14 with the Aethertide, and then you're coming in with a 3 damage spell. So 14 plus 3 plus 14, that's what, 28, 31 damage in a turn, which is enough to take out a lot of heroes. But the difference is if you're using the Aethertide combo, you need to do it on your own turn. The other build is just playing super value game and having Storm Striders for that threat of lethal on your own turn if you overextend. So you'll know if it's a hard combo deck when they use the Earth Headpiece, where you pay 3 resources to grab an Earth card back from the graveyard. So you're basically trading a blue for an Earth card, and you can do that to grab another piece of the Gain Life Amp card. Okay. Yeah, this one's just playing like value game. They're not setting up decompose, they're not setting up potions a ton, but we're taking massive arcane damage here, which means our Face Purgatory might not be able to extract a ton of value. Okay, since we have the embodiment of lightning, we're able to use Sconner Flash. It will have go again, and we can use electrostatic discharge, which is the best instant that you can couple Guardian Flash with, because not only does it return your Guardian Flash, it gives the next attack +3. So this card comboed with this is basically 7 value, which is awesome. Okay, they're not trying to block out full, they're trying just to value block, but that means we're getting the value from the burn up. Okay, and then during resolution step, after damage has been dealt, we'll use electrostatic discharge. And since we've already dealt damage, our second strike will have go again. So this will come in for 7 go again. Then we can finish it off by playing a flittering charge. Then we'll have our Guardian Flash back in the arsenal, ready to go around for another ride on the instant bounce train. Yeah, being very low on like earth cards means that their root bound carapace is not the best. Yeah, and it's kind of rare to see Verdance on the Channel the Millennium tree. Well, most of the builds might just bring it as it is a non-attack earth card with 3 block, but the very dedicated combo builds do not run this because it's kind of hard to like set up and you don't extract a ton of value from it. Okay, let's see what we can do here. E-strike dip this. Okay, what we can do is E-strike dip the other E-strike and then choose go again. Then we'll have to play our lightning press on this E-strike. So we're able to use the tunic for a weapon swing. Or another thing that we can do is just not use it in case we draw a red, so we have guaranteed Aurora ability. So we're potentially missing out on 2 damage, but higher likelihood of us setting up a better next turn. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. If we draw a blue, we get to keep the tunic. If we draw a red, no matter if we draw a red, we're still guaranteed to be able to create the embodiment, pairing it up nicely with our lightning attack already in the arsenal. And if they fully block out, that's also fine, especially when they use bark skin on the second chain link instead of the first. It means they're not extracting value from the embodiment. Well, I mean, they're not getting the embodiment anyhow since they don't have cards in banished yet, but usually whenever people block with barkskin early, either when it's not online yet or when they use it too late during the chain link and not early, they're not getting a ton of value from it, and you're happy to see that because you're an aggro deck that likes to push face. Okay, let's see here. Our arsenal's getting tucked away, but this is only coming in for 2. So there's no reason for us to use our face purgatory here. It's just going to be a massive overblock. Yeah, we can use our whole hand. Yeah, from what I found, if they're on striders, you want to cash in your armor a bit earlier than you would in a normal decompose blocky match where they have the well-grounded legs, because they can pivot really hard into the arcane damage. As you can see, they're running like the pulsing Aether Life. They're probably gonna have a bunch of other arcane spells as well, such as like the Heartbeat of Candlehold, which is not directly an arcane spell, but the gaining life period with her hero ability is. Again, when you draw a somersault, you want to use it before damage, so on defense or on reactions. So yeah, because I've been beat before where they sent a bunch of attacks that were not disruptive, but I saw that they had CNC in there, so I tried to keep my equipment for when that moment comes. But after they got me to half-life, because I kept taking the damage, not utilizing my armor, and just kept sending back, they hard pivoted into doing arcane damage, which meant that I was losing value on my armor piece. I'm not getting the block value that these armors are supposed to provide me, which is extra points of life, which really, really matters. So yeah, TLDR went up against Verdance. Either build really, even with the Stormstriders build, they want you to be on a low life total and finish you off during your turn with an arcane spell, so just cash in your armor early. You might get CNC'd later and it's gonna suck, but if you just keep pushing your 4 power attacks against their 3 or 2 blocks, you're gonna win out that exchange. Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw out the Static Shock first because it's more damage during this turn, while they need to commit a card plus a Barkskin at the minimum to defend this out fully. And second is because we won't have an embodiment. Having a card with very, very high potential to have go again in our arsenal to start off our turn is really key. And if they block this out, they only have 1 card, we're not getting plowed under. Fruits of the Forest, yum yum, gaining life again. So, okay, nice. We get to send a few attacks, but not too many, sadly. Okay, now they're gonna get the value from the Barkskin since they're blocking with it on the first link. Okay. And we can entwine again. And this is where it got kind of sussy. We have, in my opinion, we have 2 options. First is we send Flittering, and then we Aurora. Or we can Arcanic, and then Arsenal one of these 2 cards. Probably the Flittering, since it's a lightning, and this is better in the hand because it is 3 block compared to this 2 block. So let's figure out which line is better. Let's hit him with the We're Thinking. So the first line leaves us with no arsenal but an embodiment, so it's more guaranteed that we're gonna be able to go wide. But the downside is we don't have an arsenal. But against a deck with Plow under and CNC, I like this line better. Because unlike Florian, Verdance is less likely to run the Summer's Fall Decompose card. Now we pitch to Aurora's ability. This is one of the downsides of running multiple, like many more red cards than blue cards, and second is not many natural go again cards. Okay, this is a decent time for us to use our Face Purgatory. Do we need to block it out in full? Going down from 30 to 29, feel like is fine. We still want some armor when the on hits are more relevant. Okay, we're playing Blast. Oh, here's a neat trick that you can do. Play this while this is on the stack so it doesn't see. The chain link has not been created yet, so it doesn't see it as you playing an instant, or you can just like play it before you attack. But that's one of the ways that you can like lightning press a gun and flash to have it with the +3 power while maintaining the first time you see an instant you can bounce it back. That's a neat interaction that you can do. Why I'm doing this, if you're wondering, is when I play the somersault, we can return our sigil of conductivity. Now we have our embodiment of lightning for free, basically, which means I don't really want to push this Blast to Oblivion to face right now. I mean, we could have created the embodiment by just pitching it, but by doing that and creating the embodiment this way, we get to create a rune chant, which is not nothing. An extra 1 damage here and there is what makes or breaks an aggro or rush down deck or hero. And being able to find those lines that maximize and squeeze out every ounce of damage that you can muster is what makes is what separates the really good rushdown players from the average like smooth brain aggro players that a lot of people are like saying aggro players are. Like, oh, you don't need to be smart to play aggro. Well, it's kind of true, you don't really have to. Okay, so they're maxing out on their Falling of the Crown by not tucking a card. Feel like we're going to tuck our Sizzle. Oh yeah, so a lot of people are going to be able to pilot aggro or rush down decks to like an 80% efficiency, 85% efficiency pretty easily compared to when playing a mid-rangey control deck that needs to block more. Okay, they do have AB1. This is kind of tricky. The rune chant is kind of messing us up a bit, because if we play this out, they're incentivized to block the rune chant because they do have AB. But if they don't, if they don't and we don't play out the CLV, we miss out on the draw trigger. So yeah, it's just better in my opinion, just play out your CLV if they want to spend 1 card to block out 1 rune chant. So that's 1 card gone. This is a break point, so they need to commit a card plus a crown. We blink, we gone again. That's like 2 cards unless they have a D-react. Finally, we can send 4 again. Well, they're trying to pop off here. Pitching a Mind Warp. Okay, let's see how much damage they can do. Only +1 we can use. We don't need to use Greaves this turn because first the Garden Flash will have Go Again from the embodiment of lightning. Second, the instant we have in our hand is Blink. So Gone plus Blink is 2 AP, which is exactly 2 for our Gone that's going back in hand and our Blast. So yeah, we're going to need the... Wait. Let's just revert to the start of this turn. Make it easier for them. Play out the CLV. Play out Guardian Flash. Yeah, undoing while doing like arcane thingamabobs, like with Metacarpus and whatnot, is tricky. So to help them out, let's just rewind like you would. Okay, pop the bubble. They have 2 Mind Warps in hand. Okay, now they are playing up the Mind Warp with a Metacarpus trigger. They paid for it, so we are going to get our Tunic resource to pay the 1. So we're not getting Mind Warped. But now they have the extra resource to pay for the Rune Chant. But again, they committed cards from their hand that didn't pan out well. I guess they just didn't figure we could like pay, but we had like Tunic on board. If we didn't have Tunic resource, going off there just would guarantee like us losing a card from hand basically. But now there's no way we're not triggering our CLV. Yeah. Again, if the attack has Go Again, we want to play during resolution step. If it doesn't, there is a world where you can like just bounce it to hand early, but there's not much of a reason to do so. I think it's just better if you just do it during resolution constantly, so you don't like trip up when you do have Go Again on your attack and you forget, and then you bounce it early and then you miss out on the action point. So if they don't have a D-react here, we're drawing a card, which if it's an instant, especially Blink, we can pair it up with the Giaf. It's not so, but it's a blue, which is nice because it means we can weapon and hero ability and tuck Garden Flash back in our arsenal, keeping around the CLV and having an embodiment for the Guardian Flash for our next turn. So this is one of the few things that you do with Guardian Flash, is just playing it out, playing an instant, get it right back. Okay, the instants in our hand are kind of iffy. And we don't have Tunic to pay for Greaves. Let's think a bit. Let's go for Gone in a Flash first, that they know is in our arsenal. We're potentially missing out on our CLV value if they don't block, which they don't. But we're drawing a card, so... Oh, this is the best them blocking out here is honestly just the greatest for us. Because it means we can do this. Return it to hand. Again, during resolution, because it has go again, we want the action point back. Now we can bop with Starfall first. Highly likely that they will try and block this out, because letting us draw 2 while we have go again is just not very wise. And lastly, we're going to blast to Oblivion. We don't have go again yet. But there is, okay. They're letting us draw 2 here, which means we want to let the draw resolve first before we decide what we want to do. Because we can use the cards that we draw off the top to pay for our boots. If we draw like this, if we draw a bunch of instants, we can just try and pop off. Okay, let's think. Sadly, this is not a lightning card. You'll pitch the lightning press, it's fine. We'll pitch the shockwave. So we can just like gee off a bunch. Oh, if we play Sigil here, we can bounce the CLV to hand, which is neato. So we can gee off. Okay, again, we want to wait for damage to happen. During resolutions, we press it. We're missing out on the 3 value, but we're getting a 4 power card back. So, wait, what happened? Did I choose no? Okay, there we go. I must have chosen no. And we can... They have 2 cards. It's very possible for it to be Plow Under. So what I'm gonna do is just gee off again. And again, so we're just gonna push max damage at this turn. They seem adamant on keeping their hand, which means this is a good time for us to push damage. Because if they keep both of these cards, they're going down to 2 life. Sad we're only going to be able to keep one of the CLVs because the Arcanic Shockwave is not a lightning card. But putting them down to 2, with us being at 21 and them not having boots, our odds of winning this game is pretty good. It's only an E-Strike. We don't really care about that. Okay, sword swing for 1. They're at 2 though, so blink is really neat because it means you can spend the 2 resources instead of 4 embodiments. you can use it to grasp, which when they're at a low life total, like one arcane. Oh, it's guaranteed to hit because they have no AB left. They pop their equipment. I should have played the other CLV. But we draw another source of arcane damage, which means the game is on lock. So yeah, closing thoughts on Verdance. She's a very strong hero, but I feel like this is a favorable matchup for Aurora. In either of the builds, I feel like the block out combo version, block out setup pots version is very, very susceptible to our... they survived. Interesting. Yeah, the block out version, they have a bunch of non-blocks, 2 blocks, which means basically every attack that we have is 4. So we're just going to leak damage through consistently. And okay, yeah, we can just like grasp. Yeah, we're just leaking damage through, and if they don't block out, they take too much damage, and they're not able to like set up on time because they have to set up like at least 2 potions. They need to see like at least 2 of their what is it called? They just used it. The rampant growth / life card. At least 2 of these are required, and they need to have like a sigil or a like fruit of the forest yum yum. And they need to see all of that early enough. And we're just not gonna give them time to do so. That's for the combo build. And the harder version of Verdance is the more mid-rangey Florian-esque type, where she leans more heavily on like blocking 2 and sending Felling of the Crown, blocking 2, sending Plow Under. And when her hero ability's online, we're just gonna be constantly poked. Yeah, we're gonna get constantly poked by her arcane pings, and it's gonna be only coming in for like 1 or 2 in a turn. We don't want to spend a card to block that out, but our life total is gonna be like grinded down, and her cards are so high. The earth cards are so high value, paired up with the bark skin, and like with the well-grounded boots, she can like prevent on hits. When with multiple D reacts, it's harder for us to push through, and she might get there by pivoting into arcane damage later on, which even though we can run AB3 into Verdance, I feel like running Tunic we're much better off running Tunic. We can extract a lot of value from it. We can use it for our combo turn paired up with the legs. But overall, even though that matchup is harder than the full combo Verdance, which needs to set up pots and whatnot, I feel like we're still favored in both of those matchups. So if you're an Aurora enjoyer, you're a Crackle addict, and you see the opposing Verdance in front of you, you should be pretty happy with that matchup. But still, there's no reason to like disrespect her. She's still a very strong hero, and at her core, she has access to the very good Earth package and a very good Wizard package, especially the builds that are running Stormstriders. If you just take too much damage early, she can just finish you off out of nowhere, especially when paired up with this card, Rampant Growth Life, paired up with amp cards, just can like knock you out of nowhere. If they play like life, meld it and wait for the rampant growth not to resolve yet, respond with another one of these, gain the life again, so you have 2 rampant growth effects queued up, and then you use like a Sigil of Solace or discard like a Fruits of the Forest to gain that extra bit of life. For example, Sigil here, So you have 2 lives and a sigil, you're gaining 5. So you're going to be amping 5 and 5, amping 10, and even with a measly like Pop the Bubble or like Mind Warp, any 0 cost arcane spell for 1 or 2 damage, amp 10, that's coming in for 11 or 12, which means a lot of the times you can be very, very dead. But we do have shock charmers for the AB2, but I feel like having 3 block from grasp and creating a rune chant once in a while to help push through that CLV is more important. But I'll need to do more testing whether like shock charmers will help us out, because sometimes Verdance can just like lean really heavily on the earth package, like Plowanders, Fellings, Cadaverous, just huge attacks that you can't block out with shock charmers, and our only source of arcane damage is pings, from like gaining life here and there from discarding fruits of the forest, or from Fiendal's fighting spirit, which means our shock charmers are not getting a ton of value. Yeah, that's enough rambling about the Aurora Verdance matchup. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That is the best free way you can support me creating free YouTube content directly into your video feed. And as always, sampai goodbye.